Picture this. You're standing in front of a mirror, but instead of seeing your reflection, you see the person you've always dreamed of becoming. That's not just a fantasy, it's the heart of one of the most powerful ideas that can change your life. This idea comes from a man named Neville Goddard, and it's all about using your imagination to create the life you want. Goddard taught that our imagination isn't just for daydreaming, it's a tool for shaping our reality. He believed that if you want something in your life, you need to see it and feel it in your mind first. It's like planting a seed in your thoughts and watching it grow into your real life. Think about it this way. If you want to be successful, happy, or loved, Goddard said you need to imagine yourself already being that person. It's not about pretending or fooling yourself. It's about feeling so deeply that you're already that person that your outside world has no choice but to match what's going on inside your head. This might sound a bit odd at first, but stick with me. By the end of this video, you'll see why so many people have found Goddard's ideas life-changing. Now, here's the big truth that Goddard taught. If you don't change how you think and feel on the inside, nothing around you will change. It's like trying to see a different reflection in the mirror without changing your pose. It just won't work. But here's the exciting part. If you get good at using your imagination the way Goddard taught, amazing things can start happening in your life. People who've tried this have reported finding their dream jobs, improving their relationships, and even seeing changes in their health. But I'll be honest with you, it's not always easy. Using your imagination this way means you have to face your own thoughts and feelings. Sometimes you might find doubts or fears hiding in there. It's like cleaning out a closet. You might find some stuff you forgot was there. But if you're ready for a big change in your life, facing those thoughts is worth it. This video is for those of you who are ready to try something different, something that goes beyond just positive thinking or setting goals. Before we dive deeper into these ideas, let's talk about who Neville Goddard was. Born in 1905 in Barbados, Goddard wasn't always a spiritual teacher. He started out as a dancer and moved to the United States as a young man to pursue his career. But he had a curious mind and a deep interest in spiritual matters. This led him to study various religious and mystical teachings from around the world. What made Goddard special was how he took these complex spiritual ideas and explained them in ways that everyday people could understand and use. He wasn't interested in creating a religion or gathering followers. Instead, he wanted to teach people how to use their own minds to improve their lives. Goddard gave lectures and wrote books for over 40 years, sharing his ideas with thousands of people. Goddard taught that every person has a divine power within them. He believed that our imagination isn't just for make-believe, it's actually the creative power of the universe working through us. This might sound big and complicated, but Goddard had a way of making it simple. He would say things like, imagine lovingly on behalf of another, encouraging people to use their imagination to help others as well as themselves. One of the things that makes Goddard's teaching so helpful is that they're practical. He didn't just talk about big spiritual ideas, he gave people specific techniques they could use in their daily lives. For example, he taught people how to use mental images and feelings to revise their day, changing how they felt about things that had happened. He also showed how to use imagination to solve problems and achieve goals. Goddard's ideas have helped people in all sorts of ways. Some have used his teachings to find better jobs or start successful businesses. Others have improved their health or relationships, and many people have found that his ideas brought them a sense of peace and purpose in life. Even today, decades after Goddard's death, people are still discovering his books and lectures and finding them helpful. What's really interesting about Goddard's teachings is that they bridge the gap between ancient wisdom and modern life. He drew inspiration from the Bible and other spiritual texts, but he interpreted them in a way that made sense for people living in the modern world. He showed how these age-old ideas could be applied to everyday situations like work, family, and personal growth. One of Goddard's most famous sayings was, "Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled." This simple phrase captures a lot of what he taught. He believed that if you could truly feel as if your wish had already come true, you would set in motion the events that would make it a reality. It's not about just wishing or hoping. It's about feeling so deeply that your wish is real that your mind and body start to act as if it's already happened. Goddard's teachings went beyond just getting things or achieving goals. He believed that by using our imagination in this way, we could discover our true selves and our connection to the divine. He saw each person as a unique expression of God, with the power to shape their world through their thoughts and feelings. This idea gives a sense of responsibility, but also incredible freedom. According to Goddard, we're not victims of circumstances, but creators of our own reality. Now, you might be wondering how this is different from other self-help or positive thinking ideas you've heard before. The key difference is that Goddard didn't just tell people to think positive thoughts. He taught a specific way of using the imagination that he believed tapped into the creative power of the universe. It's not about forcing yourself to be optimistic or repeating affirmations. It's about learning to use your mind in a new way, a way that Goddard said could literally change your world. As we go deeper into Goddard's ideas in this video, you'll see how they can apply to your own life. Whether you're looking to improve your career, find love, boost your confidence, or just feel more at peace, Goddard's teachings offer a unique approach. They ask you to look at the world in a different way and to use your mind in ways you might not have considered before. Remember, Goddard wasn't asking people to believe in him or follow him. He was inviting everyone to test these ideas for themselves. He often said that the proof of his teachings was in the results people got when they applied them. So as we explore these ideas, think about how you might use them in your own life. You don't have to accept everything Goddard said, but you might find that some of his ideas resonate with you and open up new possibilities. In the next part of this video, we'll look at the main idea behind Goddard's teachings. We'll break it down into simple steps that you can start using right away. You'll learn how to use your imagination not just for daydreaming, but as a tool for shaping your reality. We'll also talk about some of the challenges you might face when trying these ideas and how to overcome them. So if you're ready to explore a different way of looking at the world and your place in it, let's dive deeper into the teachings of Neville Goddard. You might just find that you have more power to shape your life than you ever realized. At the heart of Neville Goddard's teaching is a simple yet powerful idea. Your imagination creates your reality. This might sound like something out of a fantasy story, but Goddard meant it very literally. He believed that the world we see around us is a reflection of our inner thoughts and feelings. In other words, what you imagine and believe on the inside becomes your experience on the outside. Let's break this down into simpler terms. Imagine your mind is like a garden. The thoughts and feelings you have are like seeds. When you plant these seeds in your mind by thinking and feeling them strongly, they grow into your experiences in the real world. Just like a gardener chooses which seeds to plant, Goddard taught that we can choose which thoughts and feelings to focus on. This idea might seem strange at first, especially if you're used to thinking that the world just happens to you. But Goddard would say that's backwards. He believed we're always creating our reality, whether we know it or not. The key is to start doing it consciously, instead of by accident. Here's an example to make it clearer. Let's say you want a new job. Most people would just look at job ads and send out resumes. But Goddard would suggest something different. He'd say to imagine yourself already in that new job. Feel how it would feel to work there. Imagine yourself loving your work, getting along with your co-workers, even receiving your first paycheck. The more real you can make it in your mind, the more likely it is to happen in reality. Now, this doesn't mean you don't take action in the real world. You still might send out resumes or go to interviews. But Goddard taught that the inner work, the imagining and feeling, is what really makes things happen. The outer actions then become almost effortless, guided by your inner vision. This idea applies to everything in life, not just jobs. Relationships, health, money, personal growth. Goddard taught that all these areas of life respond to what we imagine and believe. It's like we're writing the script of our lives with our thoughts and feelings, and then watching it play out in the world around us. Now that we understand the basic idea, let's look deeper at how Goddard said our thoughts create our reality. He believed that our thoughts are incredibly powerful, much more than most people realize. In fact, he said that every thought we think is creating our future. Goddard explained it this way: everything you see in the world was once just a thought in someone's mind. The chair you're sitting on, the device you're using to watch this video, even the words you're hearing, all these started as ideas in people's minds before they became real. In the same way, he said, the experiences in our personal lives start as thoughts before they become real. This is why Goddard put so much emphasis on watching our thoughts. He said we should be as careful with our thoughts as we are with our actions. If you wouldn't say something mean to a friend, why would you think mean thoughts about yourself? If you wouldn't throw trash on the street, why would you fill your mind with negative thoughts? But here's the important part. Goddard wasn't saying we should force ourselves to only think positive thoughts. He knew that negative thoughts are a normal part of being human. Instead, he taught a way to work with our thoughts. He said we should observe our thoughts without judging them, and then choose which ones we want to focus on and grow. This is why it's so important to pay attention to what you're thinking and feeling throughout the day. Goddard would say that these thoughts and feelings are shaping your future experiences. If you catch yourself thinking worried thoughts about money, for example, you can choose to shift your focus to thoughts of abundance and financial security. Goddard also taught that our subconscious mind plays a big role in this process. He said that our subconscious accepts whatever we repeatedly think and feel as true. Once the subconscious accepts an idea, it works to make that idea a reality in our lives. This is why Goddard emphasized the importance of not just thinking, but really feeling as if what we want is already true. Now we come to one of the most exciting parts of Goddard's teaching, the power of imagination. Goddard believed that our imagination is our most important tool for creating the life we want. He didn't see imagination as just daydreaming or fantasizing. To him, imagination was a real creative force. Goddard often quoted a line from the poet William Blake, "Man is all imagination." He took this very seriously. He taught that when we imagine something, we're not just making up pictures in our minds. We're actually touching the creative power of the universe. This is a big idea, but Goddard had a way of making it practical and usable in everyday life. Here's how Goddard suggested using imagination. Let's say there's something you want to experience in your life. It could be anything: a new job, a happy relationship, better health, or even just a sense of peace and contentment. Goddard would tell you to close your eyes and imagine that you already have this thing. But don't just see it. Feel it. Use all your senses. If it's a new job, imagine sitting at your new desk, talking with your new co-workers, feeling satisfied with your work. Make it as real and vivid as you can in your mind. The key, according to Goddard, is to do this until it feels completely natural and real to you. He said that when you can imagine something so clearly that it feels like a memory rather than a fantasy, that's when it starts to become real in your life. It's like you're tuning your mind to a new frequency, and your outer world has to change to match it. Goddard gave many examples of people using this technique successfully. He told stories of people imagining their way into new careers, healing relationships, and even improving their health. He believed there was no limit to what imagination could do when used in this way. But Goddard also emphasized that this isn't about forcing things to happen. It's more like aligning yourself with what you want. When you imagine and feel your desire as real, you naturally start to think, feel, and act in ways that bring it about. You might suddenly notice opportunities you didn't see before, or find yourself inspired to take actions that lead to your goal. This use of imagination isn't just for big goals. Goddard taught that we can use it for small, everyday things too. Feeling nervous about a presentation? Imagine it going well. Worried about a difficult conversation? Imagine it turning out positively. By using our imagination in this way, we can change our experience of life on a daily basis. Feeling is the secret. One of Goddard's most important teachings was summed up in the title of one of his books. Feeling is the secret. This idea goes hand in hand with his teachings on imagination, but it adds a crucial element. Goddard taught that it's not enough to just picture what you want in your mind. The real power comes when you can feel the emotion of having what you want. Goddard explained that our feelings are like a bridge between our thoughts and our reality. When we can feel the joy, satisfaction, or relief of having our desire fulfilled, we send a powerful signal to our subconscious mind. Our subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's vividly imagined. So when we feel as if our desire is real, our subconscious goes to work to make it a reality. This is why Goddard often advised people to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. He wasn't talking about pretending or forcing yourself to feel happy. Instead, he meant really exploring and experiencing the feeling of having what you want. If you want a loving relationship, for example, you would imagine not just the appearance of your partner, but the feeling of being loved, cherished, and content. To use this idea in practice, Goddard suggested spending time each day in a state of quiet imagination. Find a comfortable place where you won't be disturbed, close your eyes, and imagine a scene that implies your desire is already fulfilled. But don't just see it, feel it. Feel the emotions you would feel if this were really happening. The more real you can make this feeling, the more powerful the effect. Goddard also taught that our day-to-day feelings are important. He encouraged people to pay attention to how they feel throughout the day and to choose feelings that align with what they want to experience. If you want prosperity, for example, you would cultivate feelings of abundance and gratitude, even if your current circumstances don't seem to justify those feelings. Another key concept in Goddard's teachings is what he called living from the end. This means living your life as if your desire has already been fulfilled. It's a powerful extension of using your imagination and feelings. When you live from the end, you don't just imagine your desire for a few minutes a day. You carry the feeling and the assumption of its fulfillment with you throughout your day. You make decisions, have conversations, and take actions as if what you want is already true. For example, if you're living from the end of having a successful career, you might start dressing for the job you want not the job you have. You might speak with more confidence, take on more responsibility, or start networking with people in your desired field. The key is that you're not doing these things to get what you want. You're doing them because in your mind, you already have what you want. Goddard taught that when you live from the end consistently, the outside world has no choice but to reshape itself to match your inner assumption. It might not happen overnight, but if you persist in this state of mind, you'll start to see changes in your external reality. This concept can be challenging because it often requires us to ignore our current circumstances and trust in something that isn't yet visible. But Goddard insisted that this was the key to real transformation. He often quoted the biblical phrase, "Walk by faith, not by sight," as a way of explaining this idea. To practice living from the end, start by choosing one area of your life where you want to see a change. Then ask yourself, how would I think, feel, and act if this change had already happened? Try to embody those thoughts, feelings, and actions as much as possible in your daily life. As powerful as these ideas are, Goddard was realistic about the challenges people might face when trying to put them into practice. Doubts, fears, and negative beliefs can often get in the way of our imagination and our ability to feel our desires as real. Goddard taught that these doubts and fears are natural, but they don't have to control us. He suggested several ways to deal with them. First, he advised not to fight against negative thoughts and feelings. Instead, acknowledge them, but then gently turn your attention back to your desired state. It's like changing the channel on a TV. You're not fighting with the old channel, you're just choosing to watch something else. Second, Goddard emphasized the importance of persistence. He knew that changing long-held beliefs and thought patterns takes time. He encouraged people to keep practicing, even if they didn't see immediate results. He often said that the feeling of naturalness was more important than the length of time spent in imagination. Third, he taught a technique called revision. This involves reimagining past events in a more positive light. If you had a bad day, for example, before going to sleep, you would reimagine the day as if it had gone well. This helps to neutralize negative feelings and builds faith in your ability to shape your experience. Lastly, Goddard reminded his students that doubt itself can be imagined away. If you find yourself doubting, you can use the same techniques of imagination and feeling to create a sense of confidence and certainty. Remember, Goddard said, every master was once a beginner. It's normal to have doubts when you're learning something new. The key is to keep practicing, stay patient with yourself, and trust in the process. As we wrap up our exploration of Neville Goddard's teachings, let's recap the main points we've covered. Your imagination creates your reality. What you think and feel internally is reflected in your external world. The power of imagination is not just for daydreaming, it's a tool for shaping your life. Feeling is the secret. The emotions you cultivate are crucial to manifesting your desires. Living from the end means embodying the state of already having what you want. Doubts and fears are normal, but they can be overcome with practice and persistence. Goddard's ideas offer a unique and powerful approach to personal growth and manifestation. They invite us to take responsibility for our lives in a profound way, recognizing that our inner world shapes our outer experiences. As you start to apply these teachings in your own life, remember that change often happens gradually. Be patient with yourself and enjoy the process of discovering your own inner power. Start small, maybe with imagining a good day or a positive interaction, and build from there. Goddard's ultimate message was one of empowerment and hope. He believed that each of us has the divine power of creation within us, waiting to be recognized and used. By mastering our imagination and our feelings, we can unlock our true potential and create lives filled with joy, purpose, and fulfillment. So, as you go forward from here, pay attention to your thoughts and feelings. Practice using your imagination not just for fantasy, but as a tool for shaping your reality. Live from the end of your desires and watch as your world begins to change. Remember, in Goddard's words, you are already that which you want to be, and your refusal to believe this is the only reason you do not see it. Embrace your power, trust in your imagination, and step confidently into the life you desire. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Neville Goddard's transformative ideas. I encourage you to keep exploring these concepts, put them into practice, and see how they can change your life. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content, and share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your journey of unlocking your divine potential starts now.